Welcome inside the Bleav in Commanders podcast on the Bleav Network. Scott Jackson and Anthony Armstrong here with you. And I guess, do we call this the holdout edition, Anthony?
Yeah, don't really want to have these all the time, but yeah, we got to call it the holdout pod, man. Terry McLaurin, he's not there. He's not there at mandatory minicamp, but hey, I don't think it's a big problem, but we'll see. We'll talk about that today.
All right. Well, glad you're with us here. Of course, you can find us wherever you find your better podcasts, the Bleav in Commanders podcast with Anthony Armstrong and Scott Jackson here. All right. So let's dive into it. Look, we heard, some rumblings. He wasn't there for some of these OTAs that are, of course, voluntary. But here's the days, Anthony, where they'll take your money, right? Like if he misses these 3 days, it's pretty costly, but going into the final year of his contract, Terry McLaurin had a excellent season finally with that legit franchise quarterback, right? And Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, for whatever reason at this point have not moved to Terry's pace, I suppose, and his agent's pace. So they're trying to send a message here. What do you think this does? You've been in this situation as a player when you got maybe somebody who's unhappy with their contract and he might be one of your main guys. I mean, how much of this trickles into the rest of the locker room and when you guys have some downtime to talk about?
I think when it's somebody with the magnitude of Terry McLaurin, it's something that everybody's really thinking about, right? They're really considering, like, hey man, what's going on? Why hadn't Terry gotten his deal done yet? And whereas, yeah, he did have this happen last year. He did hold out last year, and he found his way into getting, well, not last year, but the last time he got his contract, I should say, he ended up getting his new deal. But now things seem to be going a little bit slower. We were hoping that it was going to get done here, soon. I wanted it to be done, yesterday. But as long as it doesn't get into training camp, I think it'll be okay. But ideally, I would love to have this thing done earlier so there's not an extra turmoil hanging over the team.
Well, again, this is what 2022 went through the similar thing, ended up getting the deal done. Obviously, look, he's a guy who's been through a lot with this team. He's a great leader. Nobody questions his character. This new administration has said great things about Terry McLaurin. They said they want Terry McLaurin to be a Washington Commander for a long time. So everybody's saying the right things, but obviously there's not enough action, at least from the player and the agent side of this thing right now. I just wonder, like, if there is, I don't know, something to give the Commanders pause, what would it be? Do you think it is hey, he's going to be 30, by the time this season's over, that kind of stuff? I mean, what's going on there? Or is it just maybe, hey, we want to do it on our pace and our schedule and, we'll engage when we're ready to, or is it just some of that?
Man, I would hope that it's more on hell. Frankly, both sides seem disrespectful. It's Terry McLaurin, man. It's Terry McLaurin. You want to get the guy taken care of, but I do think you do have to consider age a little bit, right? Getting 30, that's that age where you start to wonder where that player is going to go. But I mean, the way the roster's set up, I think that you've leaned on a lot of receivers and a lot of players that are over 30 years old. So you kind of got to take that one out to the side. But I guess if they have to decide what type of commitment they want to make to the player. I think that you ultimately want to get this thing done, but how big or how do you see this thing getting laid out? Is it going to be in that $30 to $35 million range as the other top receivers have been paid in this league? And maybe that's the point right there. They're thinking like, I don't know, like we love Terry, but are they trying to commit, 31 or 32 million to that position? Would it be a 2-year deal for that amount? Or because there's so many nuances inside of here. So many nuances between the length of time and the amount of money, guaranteed money that goes down. You really have to find the perfect mix, the perfect recipe to get this man under contract, I think.
Yeah, and you look at it just from a practical standpoint going into next year's offseason, right? You would, if you don't get the McLaurin deal done, he'll play. Look, he's not going to hold out. I mean, he's going to show up when the time counts, right? Because he's not going to waste the year. That's just not smart business. And if you hit free agency or you get tagged or whatever, so be it. But you're going to at least play this year. But if they do that, then you're looking at a situation where Debo's going to be a free agent. You hope he is the guy you want to keep after this year. I don't think you traded for him just for one season. They certainly would like to have him for the future. And Terry. And you got to take care of both of them. That's what Cincinnati went through this offseason. That's not easy to do, right? When you have two guys that you're taking care of. In their case, they didn't have to do the chase, but they did do it, which was smart before he played into the last year of that contract, and they had already tagged T. Higgins. But I just don't think that's an ideal situation. I think it gets done. I'll just be interested, like you said, what's the length of it? What's the total years? The average per year is interesting, but I think we all understand that sometimes that can be a little fake, right? Yeah. It's more about the guaranteed money that's there. And remember, Terry, again, to his credit, when did his last contract, just did a 3-year deal, right?
Yeah.
So he could hit that free agency after 3 years while still very much in his prime. So that's what makes it interesting. I just think about how good he and Jaden were last year. Like you don't want to goof that up, right? And it's not
Nah.
like they went out and got a surefire number one receiver this offseason. I think you and I both talked about Jalen Lane a few weeks ago. We like him, but he's still got a long way to go for you to convince me that they've got a solution as the lead guy, not named Terry McLaurin here,
Yeah.
of what they currently have. So they put a lot of pressure on your front office if you don't do something.
Yeah, if you look at the potential holes that are on this roster, you think, okay, well, you got to see what you got at left tackle. Obviously, Tunsil, coming back, and he's going to be a top guy, but you want to see him on the field with the rest of the crew, and you wonder what's happening at the pass rushing spot. Who's going to get to the quarterback? But you cannot let this take away the story. You cannot let this be the story and something that's lingering. So everything's been going good for the organization, been going really well since the whole transition of ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, the stadium news, just everything's been going really well. It's been handled appropriately. So on one side, I want to trust AP. I want to trust that front office and how they're handling things. I feel like I want to feel like in the background, they're going to get it done. And, the noise that's out there in the media and that's kind of causing that chatter is maybe a one-sided thing, but they're trying to stoke the flames a little bit. But ideally, man, let's get this thing done before Father's Day. That'd be my gift. A Father's Day gift for me is a Terry McLaurin contract. I don't know about you, Scott, but I would be so happy with that. The Juneteenth Terry McLaurin deal. That'd be good for me as well.
Yeah, look, he's got to get it done to training camp because clearly he's not going to be in there before the end of minicamp, which is just a few days into it, right? But yeah, you'd like to have this stuff settled before training camp. Everybody happy, everybody on the same page at that point. And you're right, there's a lot of goodwill here. This has been, a high functioning front office at this point, so you got to think it gets done. And I always wonder too, like when you look at the big picture, going back to players in the locker room. I mean, if you're one of the guys here that's, a young guy, I mean, you're kind of watching this a little bit interested. I mean, this is like a big eye opener this is the business of football. You live this, Anthony, like even guys they like. I mean, sometimes, there's going to be disagreements, and this is a true, face of the franchise kind of player. And even he has to, go through the process a little bit sometimes to get things the way that he would like them to be in terms of his money.
Yeah, you ain't lying. That's an eye opener for real. Like, man, they can do that to him. What are they going to do to me? But I will say on the flip side, for those young guys, you mentioned Jalen Lane, you got an opportunity right now to get a couple extra reps with the ones, right? You got a couple extra time to get out there and catch a few passes and build some chemistry. I don't think that one of these guys are going to make that much noise where they're going to say, hey, maybe we don't need 17 this season. That ain't happening. But just the fact that you can get in the huddle and you can make a name for yourself. I was on John Keim's podcast talking about it. Anytime you get on the field, you got to take advantage as a young guy or, Luke McCaffrey needs – hell, Luke probably should jump in there. Give me all the reps I can, right? I'm trying to make myself get back in the good graces of the coaching staff and push, to have good momentum going into training camp. So take advantage of the time while you got it, man. But understand this is a business. Anybody can get cut. Anybody can get traded. I mean, I pulled up an article about Terry getting traded. I don't think that's going to happen. But, hey, it's one of those things that you really got to consider. Like, teams are going to pick up the phone and try to put some offers out there. I mean, I'll ask you this, because I sure don't want to say it. Who would be, or what would you be looking to get if you had to go that route of moving Terry McLaurin?
You'd have to get multiple multiple picks, picks. I don't know if I could get a 1 or not. But certainly a 2 and a 3, and some maybe more combinations of that. I don't love any of it because I think this is a team trying to win this year. I mean, I don't think it helps you. I mean, I know they need draft capital, but they need to win this year, and they want to win this year clearly with the moves they've made. I just think that alternative doesn't sit well with anybody. Talking from the fan base, or even in that locker room, as we were discussing earlier, it would not come off like, wow, this is great. We have draft picks. So what? I mean, how it is. I mean, veteran players are selfish. They don't care about the young players. They don't care what your draft class looks like next year. They want to win now. And, this is a time where everybody was so encouraged by what Jaden did last year. get into the NFC Championship game. I mean, the bare minimum, and I think we discussed this a few weeks ago, people expect them to be a playoff team again next year. So, moving on from McLaurin doesn't get you there. So yeah, that wouldn't be something to be excited. I would be excited about, but again, there's just so many things that you want to focus on. Like, hey, is the defense better? They added these guys. How many new stars have defense? Can they stop the run? Can Jaden take that next step? And can the running game maybe get a burst? Bigger burst this year with that improved offensive line and these kind of things. But then, this contract stuff suddenly becomes like the focus, right, of every story. Yeah. And I thought Dan Quinn put it well on the first day where he said, look, the business of football, sometimes business and football intersect, and that's one of these situations. And that's all you can say as a coach. I'm sure Dan Quinn, the coach, is like, get me this guy. I don't, he's not, do the front office thing. Get me this guy in here because I need him here, and I'm sure that's the way Jaden feels in those guys. I mean, you don't want to be going too many days without 17 out there.
Yeah, when they say Cliff had that note on AP's desk that said draft a kid from Oregon. Well, dadgummit, go out there and write a new one. Say sign Terry. Put that on the piece of paper. Everybody just subtly leave it around. I'll put mine here for the show. Sign Terry. I'll hang it in the background right here. You can see it right there. Maybe you can't see. There it is. Sign Terry. We got the paper. It's going back here behind me. It stays there. Oh, shoot, it fell down. Anyways, It's going to be back there. We're going to make sure we have it up there every single day till Terry gets back in the fold.
As always, Anthony, good time. AAA Anthony Armstrong. Of course, you can follow him on the X. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, check me out at Rated Armstrong. It's all the social media platforms, man. So follow me over there. And then always tap into the show, Bleav in Commanders on all your favorite streaming platforms. And make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Bleav Network.
Absolutely. Jackson Sports on the X for me, and at Real Jackson Sports on Instagram. Sometimes I'm there. Again, Bleav and Commanders, part of the Bleav Network. We appreciate you tuning in. And again, find us, like us, leave a comment anywhere you find your better podcast. Till next time, for Anthony Armstrong, Scott Jackson saying so long.